Yep, we back.
So what's on Facebook?
Same thing. Keep both of them alive.
No, but you're not saying the same thing.
That's what I just finished saying. There's a delay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so a world in chaos is Trump to blame. Please put yourself on mute if you are not talking. Thank you, sir. Is Trump to blame? So everybody knows what's going on, right? There's a lot going on. Has anybody been paying attention to what's going on?
There's
Charlottesville, Barcelona, right? There's a lot going on. There's not only just that, there's North Korea, that's going on, right? There's Guam, there's the Philippines. Philippines had a mass murder of whatever drug bust. Have you been paying attention to it? Not really, huh? Okay. There's bits and pieces. So there's a lot going on. But what I want to make sure we make this clear. I don't like always doing current events like news stuff because that's not the gospel. That's just using that to show where we are in prophecy.
Move from my
How close we are to the coming of Jesus Christ. Okay? So I don't want to just start using a lot of, hey Maya, happy Sabbath. I don't want to start using just the current events just to talk about current events. I'm going to use it to point to a certain direction that we got to do. Everybody get that? Okay, very good. All right. So again, for those of you on Facebook, the I think it's on there now, right? The presentation's on Facebook, right? Did y'all check this? No, I'm talking about the presentation, the slides. It should be on Facebook. So just check my name. Go to my page. Yeah, the slide should be on Facebook. Should be.
I will check
it. All right. Okay. So there should be a YouTube link somewhere around there somewhere. All right, let's go. So for those of you on Facebook, if you want my slide, the slide should be on Facebook. My good loving producer, she's gonna take care of that check. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, we do need somebody who can. Can you see it? Can you see it? Is it there? You can share that also. All right. A world in chaos. The religion of the Bible recognizes no caste or color. It ignores rank, wealth, world honor. God estimates men as men. With him, character decides their worth. And we are to recognize the Spirit of Christ in whomsoever it is revealed. Everybody gets that? Okay. I am burdened, heavily burdened, for the work among the colored people. The gospel is to be presented to the downtrodden Negro race. But great caution will have to be shown in the efforts put forth for the uplifting of his people. Among the white people, in many places, there exists a strong prejudice against the Negro race. We may desire to ignore this prejudice, but we cannot do it. If we were to act as if this prejudice did not exist, we could not get the light before the white people. We must meet the situation as it is and deal with it wisely and intelligently. Did you know she spoke about that? No, not at all. This is the first time. You know how many people in the African American churches, black churches all around, think that she never spoke about race?
Well, she lived in that time.
She lived during the time of slavery.
She spoke of a time when the Civil War was
right. So that's right. That's right. She spoke of the Civil War. She predicted what's going to happen in the Civil War. Right. Right. So she was given light on the Civil War, I should say. Okay. But what she's talking about here is the fact that there is an issue with race, and we cannot ignore it, right? But the way that we have to deal with it is what? Wisely and intelligently, okay? So I'm gonna say it again. There is an issue with race and prejudice in our country. We have to recognize that. That is a reality. How we deal with it, though, have to be wisely and intelligently, okay? That's how we're going to work through this tonight. Again, our subject is a world in chaos. Now, is Trump to blame? Somebody says, yes, he plays a huge part in making it worse for sure.
I say no.
You say no.
I say no. The world was already bad before Trump came in it.
Okay. You know, I have this feeling that a lot of people may have been living in a fantasy world before Trump. And then here comes Trump, and boom, he blows up everything. Like,
People complain like that every time.
every time there's a different president. Every time is, and I'm trying to get this into people's mind that this happens all the time. You know, one person said that I read it on Facebook that this is Trump is the worst president in history. And I'm like, did they forget about Nixon? Did they forget about, Clinton? Well, you know, a lot of folks love Clinton, but they didn't know how terrible he was, right? And all the stuff he did on the inside, right? You know, they forgot about George Bush, just twice removed, was the worst president in history. George Bush was just the worst president in history, and now he's forgotten about. Like, he has no memory of George Bush, you know. So we have a lot of these presidents all the Bushes, right? You know, they were terrible presidents, right? You know, people say Carter was a great president, but Carter made he did a lot of evil stuff himself. You know, Nixon did a lot of evil things himself. Who else? Taft was when they at the time when Taft was president, people deemed him to be the worst president, right? President, you know, there was a lot of other presidents.
Let's not forget about Obama.
Well, yeah, you know, let's not mention Obama. Oh my gosh, let's not mention Obama. You know, that's where the race divide is, right? For a lot of African Americans, Obama was the best president for most African Americans. But when you go out to those of the white race, they have a problem with Obama. So many people, we have many people, many different cultures and folks who, you know, if that's not who they voted for, to them, all they're looking for that person to do is make mistakes. And when they make bad mistakes, that's the worst president ever. So right now, Trump, who we all know, is a person that's not politically correct. He's not politically correct. He's going to say what's on his mind. And that's where people have a problem. He sees it the way he sees it. He's going to call it the way he sees it. I mean, I would, right? You know, people would probably, and that's the kind of person that I am. I call it the way I see it, right? I shoot from the hip. Trump is that same guy. Whether he's part of the white supremacists or not, he's just calling it the way he sees it, right? Okay, so let's keep going. Is God the author of human suffering? Is God the author of human suffering?
No.
No. How do we know?
Because that's not his character.
Not his character. Why would it be not his character though?
Because God is about love. I mean, human suffering is a byproduct of sin and Satan, but I don't think that that's something that God authored.
Right, but there's a reason why he can't.
God says, woe to the world, because Satan was thrown down to the world. So that has to tell us something.
I'm looking for something a little more simpler.
I mean, suffering, like she said, is a result of
sin, yeah, but
sin can't be in the presence of
human suffering. Is he the author of human? Why not? I mean, it's simple, but
because he doesn't cause the suffering. We bring it upon ourselves most of the time.
I'm looking for something more simple though. Why wouldn't God be the author of human suffering?
Because he created us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. He would not be the one who the creator of humanity will not be the author of human suffering. That really just, it goes beyond who the person that he is, right? That, what you said, Renee, is his character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go to Jeremiah 31, verse 3. Those on Facebook, hope you have your Bibles. Jeremiah 31, verse 3. Jeremiah 31, verse 3. Everybody has a Bible? I thought they had more Bibles. I just bought some more Bibles. Where did all the Bibles go? I bought Bibles. I literally bought Bibles, and they're gone. Where's the other Bible? You did? Jeremiah 31, verse 3. Let's go there.
You want me to read it?
Yes, because I need my glasses.
Oh dear. The Lord hath appeared of old unto me, saying, Yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn thee.
Okay, one more time. Jeremiah 31, verse 3. I have drawn thee with a what?
Loving kindness. An everlasting love.
Love. So God loves his creation, correct?
Yes.
He's not looking to destroy his creation. Everybody understands that? So he's not the author. As a matter of fact, he says he's the author and the finisher of our what? Faith. Of our faith. So he's not the author of the human suffering if he's the author of our faith. He wants to see us through everything. Right? Okay. So if he's saying the Lord has appeared to of old to me, saying, yes, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness, I have drawn you. I have pulled you. I have brought you towards me. Right? Okay, very good. 1 John 4:8. 1 John 4:8. So we know that Christ, that God is not the author of human suffering. He's not the one that wants us to suffer. I hope everybody gets an understanding of that. God does not want us to suffer. 1 John 4:8. Let's go there. 1 John 4, verse 8. Sure.
He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love.
Amen. So when people ask you what's the meaning of love, what should be your answer? God is love. That's it. I say all the time, God is love. I mean, that's the end of it all right there. People always have that, love means this. It's an action. It's da-da-da-da-da. Well, God is love. He encompasses love. And if we have to have the character of Christ, then we will be able to know what love is. So God is love. He's not the author of human suffering. So what is our answer to that? Our answer is, with loving kindness have I drawn you, for God is love. The essence of God's nature is love. He desires only what is best for us. All of his actions towards us are loving. They are designed to produce lasting happiness. God would never do anything that is God would never do anything that is not ultimately for our best good. For God to act any other way than loving would be to act contrary to his very nature. All right? So we know that God does not deal in human suffering. Okay? All right. If God is not responsible for human suffering, then where did it originate? Where did it originate? In the garden? Fallen man. Flooded.
I'd say
Envy. Where? What? You come on now. Don't give me that.
The first murder?
Roll back.
Oh, Satan. Satan was a judge.
You just finished saying envy, but where? Okay, so the issue started where? In heaven. Okay. So, let's go to Matthew 13, verse 24 28. Matthew 13. What's up, Mark? Carl, what's going on, brother? Matthew 13, 24 through 28.
Can I read?
Sure, Melissa.
Everybody has it?
No, but you have it. That was quick. How do you get this? Matthew 13, verses 24 through 28.
Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then has it tares? He said unto them, an enemy has done this. The servants said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? Should I keep reading?
Go to 29.
But he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them.
All right. So what's the premise of that story? That parable?
That's the tares.
So the enemy came and sowed the tares.
Well, we know the tares and the wheat will grow together. Why would they grow together? What? Because now they have to go together, right? Because verse 29 says, don't go uproot the tares, because if you do, you'll pull up the what? So now they have to go together. We know that now. Now they're connected. But why?
Because the enemy sowed the tares.
Who sowed the tear?
Satan.
The enemy came in when? After the good seeds was dropped, somebody came in and now sowed what? The tares, right? So he said the enemy. Who is the enemy?
Satan.
Satan. Okay? All right, so we know that. We get that now. Okay, happy Sabbath, Mark. How you doing, man? So we now get that an enemy has done this. Okay, verse 28. He said to them, an enemy has done this. The servant said, do we want to then go up and gather up the wheat? He says, no. If you take up the tares, you pull the wheat out, you're going to pull out the root for the what? The wheat. Okay, so they now have to what? Grow together until harvest. Okay, so who is the enemy? Let's find that out. Matthew 13:39. Let's go to verse 39. We have to make sure we get an understanding as to who's to blame. Is Trump to blame? Is Trump the one to be blamed? He's the face.
He's the face of the.
He's the face of the issue. He's the face of Satan. Oh my God.
Well,
Satan is not a face of Satan. Trump's the face of Satan. Is that really? Okay.
Yeah.
He's a tear. He's a tyrant. I mean, I don't know what's going on. Okay. Matthew 13:39. Let's go there.
The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels.
Boom. You see how the Bible explains itself? Does that just so easy? How the Bible explains itself. So we have the story. The story is a man goes out there in the field and he sows some very good seeds. As the spring came, seeds start to spring up. But the servants went out there and noticed that We got good flowers, and we got some really terrible looking weed pushing and suppressing themselves against the flowers. We go back to the master and say, Master, I know we planted really good flower seeds in the garden, but what's going on with all this weed? The master says, well, when you planted and you sowed and you left it, some evil person came behind you and sowed the bad seeds. Who is it, Master? A bunch of verses later, the master goes, it is the devil. Okay? All right. So the enemy who sowed them is the what? The devil. The harvest is the what? The end of age. What does that mean, the end of age? The end of the world. So the harvest is the end of the world. How do we know that now the angels are the reapers? How do we know that? Verse 39 says it. No.
The Bible says it, exactly.
The reapers are the angels.
The reapers are the angels. But how do we know that they're actually the ones who are reaping? Let's go to Revelations chapter 14. And let's go to verses 12 through 16. Let's just jump to Revelation chapter 14. For those on Facebook, Revelation 14, excuse me, verses 12. Sure. And let's go through 16.
Here are the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hands a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle, and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped.
So now you have a better understanding on how this thing works. So Christ gave the disciples and all those around him the threefold meaning. The evil sower is the devil. The harvest time is the end of age. And the reapers who will be reaping the harvest are the angels. And now you can see when it happens and how it happens. Okay? So the angel comes to the master, to the Lord, and says to the Lord, throw in your sharp sickle. Why? Because it's time to do what? Reap the harvest. For the harvest is
right.
How do you know when the harvest is right? When
the gospel is spread.
When do you know that the harvest is right? One more time. Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 7.
The sealing.
Revelation chapter 7. Verses 1 and 2. Okay? Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. This is how you know when the harvest is right. So see how all we're doing is literally letting the Bible explain each and every section of what we're reading. Okay? Each and every section. Hey, Kay, Carolyn, how are you? Each and every section of what we're reading, what the Bible do its own interpretation. We don't have to interpret what it is. We're going to find out one. Okay? So are you there?
Amen.
Okay, good. After these things, I saw four angels standing at the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels with whom it was granted not to harm or to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth, nor the sea, or the trees, till we have done what? Sealed servants of our gods in their foreheads. Okay? Okay, so now we understand that the sealing must take place before what?
Reaping.
Before the harvest is ripe, right? And the sealing also must take place, because we're in Revelation chapter 7. And the way Revelation is written is chronological. Okay? It's chronological. So we're in Revelation chapter 7, and we know we're near Revelation chapter 13 when the mark of the beast happens. That means, at what point of time are we in right now? The sealing time. Okay? Because the angels are holding like the four winds of what? Now, what are the four winds? Where would the four winds come from? North, south, east, and west. The four corners of the earth. Right? What does wind stand for? Because it says the four winds of strife. Okay? Very good. Calamities. Very good. Now, what does do not hurt the earth, nor the trees, or the sea stand for? The seas, the people, very good. The trees,
Nature, or the life of air, breath, air.
nature, life, right? And the earth is the what? The whole thing, exactly. Okay? So you guys got an understanding of, you did that? No? Okay. You want some extra learning? Stick around. All right. Does anybody get that on Facebook? Did anybody get the breakdown? If you didn't get the breakdown, just let me know by signifying. If you did get the breakdown, Melissa, I know you got the breakdown, Melissa. Talking about for those of you who did not get the breakdown, let me know. Okay? All right, so we now know who the enemy is. That whole thing was to show the breakdown. The enemy is the devil. Since God is not the author of sin and suffering, whom did sin originate with? Huh? How do you know that? The serpent. The first, let's go to 1 John 3:8. 1 John 3:8. Let's see if we are correct on that statement. 1 John chapter 3, verse 8.
He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil.
Okay, so we know that. For the devil has sinned from when? The beginning. The beginning of what?
Heaven.
That's kind of hard to say. We don't know when that happened.
Well, he sinned when he decided he wanted to take God's place in heaven.
But I thought it was after
Earth was already made. Since from the beginning.
Well, he got kicked out because he sinned.
That's why he fell.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The beginning of the human race. Let us make man in our own image. And Lucifer felt some kind of a way he was not part of that us, because he was the covering angel. Right? Okay. So we all got that, right?
Yes.
So everyone, okay? We got that. Very good. So let's see if your answers are correct here. Let's go. The enemy has done this. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. Very good. And the devil has sinned from the beginning. Very good. Very good. All right. Okay. So, melt the statue and end white supremacy.
If only it was that easy.
Melt the statue. Through spiritualism, Satan appears as the benefactor of the race, healing the diseases of the people, professing to present a new and more exalted system of religious faith, but at the same time, He works as a destroyer. His temptations are leading multitudes to ruin. Intemperance dethrones reason. Sensual indulgence, strife, and bloodshed follows. Satan delights in war, for it excites the worst passions of the soul, and then sweeps into eternity its victims steeped in vice and blood. It is his object to incite the nations to war against one another. In this case, it was his object to incite strife between two sets of people. People who believe in having their own race be a superior race, and the other side who feels that no race should be superior over one to another. The devil is an agitator. But what the devil has is what we call co-agitators. Okay? You call them minions. Okay? It is his object to incite the nations to war against one another, for he can thus divert the minds of the people from the work of preparation to stand in the day of God. So what is really going on is a what?
Distraction.
A distraction.
Woo.
The devil knows how to incite, and he uses his coadjutors to help with the incision.
You know, a lot of people are not even looking that deep. They're looking at the surface when it comes to the social issues that are going on. And unfortunately, they don't tie the two.
Well, you cannot tie the two. I'm going to tell you why it's hard to tie the two. Brandy brought up a very important thought before everybody showed up. Your diet has a lot to play in to your thought process.
So you like to be eating more angrier kind of thing?
It's like when people live a lifetime of unhealthy eating habits, your body is sick. You may not have symptoms right away, but your body is sick. And your mind, your brain isn't part of your body.
Your brain is the body.
I mean, your thought process, everything, all of it becomes your habit and character.
And you can't really think.
And you can't think, and we know things is spiritually discerned.
That's right.
Our minds intimate with God, so that's all they can think on is fleshly things.
There you go.
Just as it is when we're surface readers and we're not asking the Holy Spirit
To dig more surface,
dig deeper.
That's right. That's right.
And that's just one other thing that people don't think about. They don't fathom that, you know, it impacts your thinking. You don't think about that.
So let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13. No, add that one. No. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13.
Which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual.
Well, let's go to verse 12 first.
Okay.
And 13.
Okay. All right. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of God. Which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, so they are foolish unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned.
There you go. What do you say? The natural man. The natural man cannot discern things that are spiritual. You don't get it. No matter how you try to explain it to him and break it down to its finest compound, they won't be able to get it. Okay? Because the natural man. Did you get that? Evie? You understand that part? Did you get that, my brother? We can't fathom certain things that are spiritually discerned that only the Word can give you. But God will show you, besides, inside the Word, how things are moving so intricately. How you can take certain things in context and all of a sudden it opens up to you and you go, wow, now I see what that means. Now I get it. Right? So when we say that this, people look at the surface when it comes to this. What they're looking at is a racial issue. That's all they can see. Good night. Good night, girls. That's all they can see. They see the racial issue. Furthermore, when I took a look at the video, when I took a look at when I read this, the event that goes on, I realized it was not just blacks versus whites. It's just a bunch of people, and you really cannot tell who's who at the point. It got so convoluted. If it had not been for that car that ran into people and killed the one girl, you would not be able to tell who's who. It was a brouhaha, an all-in brawl, because everybody had their weapons, and everybody came ready for a battle. They were all, the powder keg was set. All right. Okay. So, is Trump to blame? Charlottesville, Trump reverts to blaming both sides, including violent alt-left. Everybody understand who the alt-left is?
Nope.
Okay, let's hold on. Let's break down. Let's break down our classes in America. Okay. So Barry, Rosie, let's no. Our classes versus political classes. Political classes. You have Republicans and you have Democrats. You're supposed to have more than that in this country.
The conservatives are going left too.
Okay. You have what they call far right Republicans, and you have far left the Democrats. Republicans are to the right, Democrats are to the left. Republicans are supposed to be conservative, Democrats liberal. Okay? All right. So here it is that you have what they call right Democrat, right Republican, mid-right Republicans, left Republican, what they call center Republican. Then you have far left liberal Democrat, mid-left liberal Democrat, centered Democrat.
Oh my goodness.
Okay? It's really confusing. Now here's where it gets more confusing. They have a new term called alternate right and alternate left, meaning that these are pro, and they just created these groups. They're the ones who are pro, I would say progressive, right? But they're very aggressive in their way of thinking on both right and left. So the right pros are your ones who are your KKKs, your neo-Nazis, white supremacists. They normally vote Republican all the time because they have a set of standards that they live by. Okay, your neo-Nazis, your KKK, you name it, all those guys who are white supremacists, they have a certain standard they live by. So they will always vote Republican, bar none. Doesn't matter who the candidate is. If it's a black Republican, they're going for him. You know why? It's GOP. They're standing for the standards. Right. And they loved Ben Carson. All the KKK guys, all of them loved Ben Carson. See, for them, it doesn't matter about color. It matters about the standard in which Ben Carson lived by. So they have a set of standards themselves. Okay? Are they bad people? No. Does God love them just the same? Yes. You know how many people who were in the KKK turned around and gave their life to Christ? Many. Many. Many, right. Many came out of the KKK, white, neo-Nazis, all of them had given their life to Christ. And all of that. If you can come from being a devil worshiper to now worshiping God, you can come out of anything. Okay? So many of them gave their lives to Christ. So they have a certain set of standards that they live by. Okay. So now, they are your pros on the alt-right side. Your alt-left side now have a certain set of standards that they live by. And the certain set of standards that they live by is that we liberal love, we don't hate, we all come together, we, have this passion of living life together with everybody else. We want unity and all those other things, right? Nothing bad about that. Nothing is terrible about that. Okay? Nothing is bad about that. What should we as Christians fall into? Into Christ, lap?
But it's like all goes.
Well, that's the list. But here it is. Okay, I want to say what they want. What they want, again, truth mixed with error, right? You gotta have that when you're dealing with the devil. You gotta see that. What they want is nothing bad or terrible, right? It's how they want to live through it, how they want to attain it, and once they attain it, how they want to control it. Okay? Whether alt-right, the conservative, they want what they want the same way. Here it is. They want a selfish system where we want our separation of who we are. We are white, you black, we stay here, you worship who you want to worship. We don't care, we don't want none of this intermingling going on. We don't love you like that, says they. Where the other side says, no, we need to come together and sing Kumbaya.
So it's like really on both sides, in a way they're both right and in a way they're both
wrong. Exactly. Now, the devil now is inciting more confusion between the two. And here's where we have our problem. That should be it. But when you take the truth and you mix it up with error, where is your divide? You don't know where to divide. You're caught between the cross of fire, right? Okay. So let's go with it. Donald Trump reverts to blaming both sides, including violent alt-left. Mark, I hope I answered your question. What class should we as Christians fall into? We should fall into the class of Christ's lap. Let's fall into his hand. At this point, we're supposed to be the ones separating ourselves from this world completely. If that's what they want, then we'll be the problem. Okay. Donald Trump has once again defended far-right protesters, where they going with it, in Charlottesville rally, saying they were not all neo-Nazis and white supremacists, and laying the blame for the violence equally on what he called the alt-left. Okay. Is there anything wrong with what he said? Everything was wrong with what he said. Anybody see that?
He's saying that the blame was for the ones who were protesting against the white supremacists. Is that what he's saying?
I don't see that.
He's saying
I hear both sides to be blamed. Is there something wrong with that? Is there something with him saying that there's both sides are to be blamed? Okay, I just want to see what the problem is, and I want us to break this thing down.
Well,
That's me.
I'm gonna say, so I agree that both sides are to blame.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that takes us back to a natural man does not discern spiritual things because there's already a mindset, especially for people of African American descent, of slavery and being inferior. Automatically, they think they're actually fighting for something. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're fighting to get their race, back. And truly and honestly speaking, it's really more than that. But again, they don't see it. So, you know, and then you had some black people that were on the other side, the far
left or far right? Right. Okay.
With the KKK also demonstrating.
Okay. That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying. So in that realm is that they are all wrong for that.
That's what he's saying. So I'm trying to figure out, was he wrong for saying that? Let's read that again. Donald Trump has once again defended far-right protesters at Charlottesville rally, saying that they were not all neo-Nazis, which is true, and white supremacists, true, and laying the blame for the violence equally on what he called the alt-left. I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, I may be wrong, but based upon what I'm reading,
and
my logic.
It's also expected for him to say that because he is far right. It's expected of him to say that. So people were like, oh, he's going to defend them because that's his belief system.
Well, I wouldn't say he's far right. He's not far right.
I don't think he's all right either.
He's mid-right, but he's not far right because a lot of conservative, even in his, the congressmen and that whole conservative sect don't really care. But remember, they're the one who created the no Trump. The Republicans were. Okay? All right. The U.S. president was fiercely criticized for failing to condemn white supremacists in his initial response to Charlottesville when he blamed the violence on many sides. On Monday, after a chorus of disapproval, he gave an apparently reluctant statement denouncing racism as evil. Did my video stop on Facebook? Can y'all still see me on Facebook?
Yes. Oh,
okay.
No, it just ended.
It just ended, huh? On its own. Go figure. I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane, he said. You had a group on one side and a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs. There is another side, and you can tell them, and you can call them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. You had people that were very fine people on both sides. Is there anything wrong with what Donald Trump had just said?
It's just amazing that nobody wants to take responsibility for this stuff.
No, what's there to be responsible of?
Meaning, the whole racism part itself. If you truly if we look at ourselves and just look at how we deal with society, there's a little bit of racism in everybody, unfortunately, right? I'm just saying. And it comes at times in anger. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be happy and talking about this or that, but normally it comes in times like this. The problem is, though, it's always the other side, whoever that may be, whoever I'm talking to, that never wants to hold themselves accountable for their participation, whether black, white, Hispanic, you know.
So once I'm there with you. The accountability part, no one wants to be held accountable for what they're doing. But what it is that you had a group who's marching on the premise of hate. And they are to be blamed because they're marching on the premise of hate.
That's like Donald Trump coming out and him speaking whatever he wants to say. A lot of people don't like the fact that he's very like a straight shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't necessarily like him, but I respect the fact that he can say whatever he wants to say and not care about it.
There was nothing politically correct about what he said. Because what the world sees, here's where the problem lies for me. What society wants to hear from the president is something that sounds like what he's supposed to say. I condemn all the white supremacists, racism should not be something a part of our country. And then he will go back into his house and say, you know what, man, them people got slaughtered. It's a good thing it happened. He said what was on his mind at the podium the way he felt he should say it. Now, if that is a problem, whose problem is it? It's not his. Not because he's the president, he's supposed to be politically correctly saying something that's supposed to feel good to the ears of those who is fighting themselves. I'm sorry, but again, I watched it too. And I wanted to make sure before we spoke about it that I wasn't ignorant of it. He says, not all those people were neo-Nazis. That's true. Here is the problem. Everybody is in it. It's a brouhaha. How do you know who's who? You don't. You cannot just pull out and say, that person's a neo-Nazi. Everybody was fighting. If you saw, I'm going to show you the picture of when the car hit the people. Blacks and whites and everybody else was in the air together. It was a pause moment for them. At this time, they'll watch each other in the ear and say, man, we both got hit. Should we then hold hands and see if we're okay together and sing Kumbaya? It's amazing how when 9/11 happened, it didn't matter if you were black or white. It didn't matter if you were Nazi or not. At the time that 9/11 happened, everybody was looking for a human life to save. I'm really confused as to why we are so hell-bent on allowing the devil to confuse us and distract us when that should not even be our focus. Not all those people were neo-Nazis, not all those people were white supremacists. Many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee, which to me, again, makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't. It's irrelevant. Taking down the statue would not take away racism. Taking down the statue would not take away prejudice. Taking down the statue would not take away hate. It doesn't allow love to come in. I'm sorry, it does not. When are we going to realize that? Let me put this, let me make this even more clear. Poison in a refrigerator is terrible to consume. Poison in the orange juice in the refrigerator is worse to consume. At least you know the poison that's in the refrigerator by itself, you won't touch it. But in the orange juice, you will never know it. And now, if you do know there's poison in the orange juice, can you extract the poison from the orange juice? You cannot. So if the poison is already in America, bringing down Robert E. Lee's statue is not going to do anything to the poison. It's still in America. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson is coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? I thought that was a good question. And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? I thought that was a good question. What if the white supremacists should feel that MLK statue should come down in Washington, D.C.? They can feel a certain kind of a way about it. Shouldn't they? If this is the way the world is going, then look, you might as well just take everything down. The American flag should come down itself. Truth be told. I think if you want to really know which one has more blood on its color, if you really want to find out which flag has more blood on its color, do the research. Because George Washington was a slave owner. Didn't matter what kind of slave owner he was. It didn't matter what, he was a slave owner. Black people. Huh? Was he not a slave owner? Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner. Andrew Jackson was the biggest slave owner as a president. Should this statue come down to? I'm just saying. You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop? Trump added, you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, and the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Is there something wrong with what he's saying? I don't care for Trump, but I have to look at this objectively. I have to look at this outside of the box, so to speak. Is what he's really saying wrong?
People are going to take anything that he says
as wrong, because they're looking for something to be said wrong. He also fired back at the media criticism of his initial response to the violence in Charlottesville on Saturday, when he condemned hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides. Okay. If there was no fighting and it was a peaceful march and the hate people walked and did about their business, would this be a story? No. Because we know that there's racism and hatred and all that in this world. Not just in America, in this world. My wife and I went to Mexico. We learned about the Mayan history as much as we possibly could. We learned that when the Spaniards came into Mexico and took over the Mayans, there were certain towns the Mayans could not go into. If you were not a Christian, you could not go into that town. And you got to understand, this is from since the 1600s up until 1956. They could not enter a town. Could not eat, could not eat. They couldn't get good water, nothing. Nothing. Because the Spaniards came in and they took over and treated them unfairly and very poorly. Isn't that everywhere in this world? There is racism and hatred. Everywhere. So this isn't the first time. Okay. There was violence on many sides rather than explicitly calling out neo-Nazis and white. So the person who wrote this is saying that Trump should not make it equal. He should just literally forget what the other people did and only deal with the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists. End of story. It's their fault.
Most of the people who are reading and commenting on that feel the same way, that they only should be pointing out those two. They don't see again.
Well, it's the same thing too when you have Christians out on the street, doing their thing, rallying and this and that, You're gonna have other Christians backing them up.
Right.
When really,
We should not be there. We should not be a part of that. We should not be a part of that. How can you have Christ's character? And many of my friends on Facebook, the Bible says in Isaiah chapter 8, come, let us reason together. Let us reason, my friends. The only thing we can take to heaven with us is our character. That's it. Our character is supposed to be like Christ. It is to be changed to be like Christ. How will our character change if we garner hate? We don't like our president. We hate him. I purposely put on Facebook, did your president agitate you today? Just to see what you got to say. And many of you guys said yes, and other things. Why should you allow this man to agitate you? Furthermore, why are you allowing another person to get under your skin who is so far from you? Trump don't know you. And by the way, you don't know him either. You just know of him from what the media and everybody else talks about him, but you have never sat down and spoke with Trump. You don't even know if the man can cook a great hot dog or not. Can he make some lemonade? You don't know. It does, because you know what? One day you sit down with Trump and he makes you a glass of lemonade with a nice little hot dog. You go, man, that guy's crazy. But you know what? At least he can make a good hot dog with some lemonade. He can boil that hot dog. I'm just saying. We don't know Trump, and Trump don't know us. You know, after he leaves his presidency after the next 8 years, he won't care about you. And you'll forget about him too. Just like you forgot about Bush. I'm sorry? How I know he's going to get reelected? Let me say this to you. Let me say this to you right here. The one thing I told my wife the other night, I said it will be the funniest thing ever seen in America if this guy gets reelected. Yeah. Because no matter, now people would have to think in their mind, if Trump gets reelected, now you have to think in your mind, is there anything that we could do to really stop this system? Is the system really set up? Really, are we voting for real? If Trump gets reelected again, will it be our fault? You can fool me once, fool me twice, shame on me. I'm just saying, if he gets reelected again, it's really not because of anybody else but the shadow government behind the system. Now people have to really realize there is a shadow government behind the system. I mean, I know it. I know who they are, but does everybody else know it? See? Hold on. Trump said, I wanted to make sure that what I said was correct, not to make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday was a fine statement. Basically, he called him out, right? Trump, who said before, I make a statement, I need facts, has long been prone to weigh in on breaking news events without the full information. In June, he condemned what he called a terrorist attack in the Philippines. The attack was actually a failed attempt to rob a casino in Manila. Although he said Bannon was not a racist, and I really like Bannon, he's a friend of mine, Trump did not offer any guarantees of job security to the former editor of the Breitbart News organization. We'll see what happens, Trump said of Bannon's continued employment at the White House. I don't care ladies and gentlemen, that's very true, Mark. You didn't vote for him the first time. And if you don't vote for him the second time, does it really matter? I'm going to say this to you guys. This world is not my home. I'm just passing through. It's heaven that I'm looking for. I don't really care what goes on in the White House. It will affect me, but only to a certain point, only to a certain degree. God has my life in his hands. God has everything else in control. So all of what's going on in the White House, all of us, it's all to distract. All of this happened. Where was everybody else's mind? How many news feeds did you read on the same story? As a matter of fact, how many, what do they call it again? No. Hold on. What are those people? Who are those people? No. Hold on, baby. Hold on. Consultants on NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, all these analysts that they have coming up to talk about the same story, to break down the story over and over and over again. All that it does is replaying your mind and desensitizing you over and over again. Keep showing the images, keep showing and keep talking and keep bringing up the story over and over and over again. And all it does is desensitize you. Oh, and matter of fact, by the way, it just brings and stirs up more hatred inside of you. That's all. That's all. You know, so this world's not my home. I'm just passing through here. All this stuff can go all around me. What I need to be focused on is my salvation. And I hope that you're figuring that out too. You need to be focused on your salvation as well. Okay? All right. So, was Trump wrong? That's crazy, isn't it? But was Trump wrong?
That's what's wrong. Yeah, he's just stating the facts.
He was just stating the facts. So hold on. I can see if that black dude was walking by himself and these white guys with the flags came and just bashed him across the head. But it seems to me both sides are having an issue. When you look at this picture, if this was the only picture that it had, can both sides be blaming out either? I mean, if somebody took a lighter and an aerosol spray can and did this and is holding a spray next to you, how would you feel? You gotta defend yourself now, right? Huh? Okay. Okay. You gotta defend yourself now, right? It's an ongoing situation. Can we not see that it did not matter about color at this time? Oof. Diversity makes us stronger. Anything different about that, Ben? You know who? You know, that whole thing right there just tells you exactly where we are. Okay? So, here it is. That banner, on one side of the banner, you have what you call your alt left. On the other side of the banner, marching towards them, is your alt right. Here's the problem. They had gotten a permit to do their march. But what happened was the police, state troopers and everything said that, you know what, now it has gotten out of hand. Your license or your permit was revoked. So they wanted to stop them from marching. But that's after the fact. Because the alt-left, or whoever these folks are on this side, decided they want to stop them from marching down the street. So that's why they blocked that whole thing off while these guys were walking down the street. Now they have their right to assembly, don't they? They have their right to march in America, don't they? Whether or not it was for a cause that we deem it's wrong. We deem the cause is wrong because they're marching for hate. But they have their right. What it is that we have right to march, but they don't have right to march? How does that work? Don't they have their right to march?
Yes, everybody. I see that's the way that nobody really what happened, because I think we really care about the rest of it. They care about the future of the state. I don't think that people are marching us to worry about the past.
So diversity is the future of the state. Unity, right? Ecumenism, right? That's what they believe in, right? Again, we had that's a good point you brought up. They want to be separated, right? They want all colors to be divided, while the other side wants diversity and unity. So they're dividing themselves from those people over there. Okay. In the division, in the diversity, can we not see the division? Because really and truly, the only person who can bring unity is who? Christ. Man cannot bring unity of themselves. What's up, Dwayne? Man cannot bring unity of themselves. So this whole thing about diversity and all that kind of stuff, it can't happen. Let's see what Pen of Inspiration says. Whenever the divine precepts are rejected, what are the divine precepts, by the way? His law. Okay? Whenever the divine precepts are rejected, sin ceases to appear sinful. That's deep. I swam in some very deep waters when I was in Mexico. And that's deeper than the waters I swam in. Okay? Sin ceases to appear sin. That means sin is not sinful anymore. It just looks right. And all righteousness desirable. So you don't have no desire to do right things anymore. Those who refuse to submit to the government of God are wholly unfitted to do what? Govern themselves. Do we see the problem? Through their pernicious teachings, the spirit of insubordination is implanted in the hearts of children and youth, who are naturally impatient of control and lawless, licentious state of society. A lawless, licentious state of society results. Are we not seeing that? While scoffing at the credulity of those who obey the requirements of God, the multitudes eagerly accept the delusions of Satan. They give the rein to lust and practice the sins which have called down judgments upon the heathen. So we can see that because where the law does not abound, sin ceases to appear sinful. These type of things are going to happen. Has anybody heard of the Antifa? Anybody on Facebook heard of Antifa? A-N-T-I-F-A, Antifa. Facebook, YouTube, let me know if you heard of anything called the Antifa. Anybody hear about the Antifa? No? Did you hear of Antifa? No? Okay. What is Antifa? Virginia clashes bring attention to the anti-fascist movement. Look at that picture right here.
Dude, like surfing?
No, that dude is in the air. This is the actual hit.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's the one that.
Okay? You see his leg? Broken. It's twisted that way. Look at his cell phone coming out of his pocket. Right? Literally. Whites, blacks, this person's hitting the ground. I mean, you can clearly see that it did not matter. Love, Black Lives Matter. You can see who they went to. Okay?
So the guy just drove his car through the crowd.
Yeah. He drove right through the crowd.
He's probably just trying to get more traffic and got really rich.
that was just being. So I got you.
But, yeah.
The traffic was thick that day. What is Antifa? The deadly white nationalist demonstration in Virginia has brought new attention to the anti-fascist movement, whose black-clad bandana-wearing members have been a regular presence at protests around the country in the last year. Members of the Antifa movement were among those protesting the Charlottesville rally last weekend. During a combative news conference Tuesday, President Donald Trump did not mention Antifa by name, but said there was blame on both sides for the violence. He said the counter-demonstrators charged at white nationalists with clubs and suggested that they also had a hand in escalating the violence. A lot of folks, the reason why Trump said what he said, that he knew more, Trump tipped his hand. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump tipped his hand. Trump stated that he knew more than the reporters and the media about the story. He tipped his hand. Trump knew already what's to take place. He knew already what was to take place. Here's what's so sad about it. The shadow government that sits behind our government, if you know anything about the Jesuit system, you would know how they play both ends of the field. One incites over here, the other incites over there. Eventually there will be a clash. Trump stated, I knew. He knew about Antifa. He didn't call them out by name, but he knew. As a matter of fact, how did he know about Antifa? Remember when he was running for president? Who were the people that were coming into his rallies and causing and stirring trouble? The same people. The same that were causing trouble at his rallies.
Bernie Sanders and the supporters, and there was a big clash.
Big clashes. There were Bernie Sanders supporters, and they would go out to his rallies, and all of a sudden you see big fights at Trump rallies. They all are part of the same thing. There's a guy named, is it Bernie Murdoch? Murdoch, not Bernie Murdoch. Maybe saying his name wrong.
The guy that got fired?
No. The one that millionaire. Renee, help me out here. I know you know this guy. He's a millionaire. He was voting for Hillary Clinton. Not Madoff, no. Put a lot of money into a lot of Black Lives Matter and all those other types of, Renee, wake up. Other types of, what you call them? Those folks who go in and start inciting trouble. Provokers. I mean, he put money into them. Members of the Antifa movement were among, we read that, right? Countless demonstrators charging, okay. Let's go to the next page.
What was Antifa?
Antifa is anti-fascist. You had a group on one side that was bad, said Trump. And you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. He's tipping his hand. Antifa is short for anti-fascist and emulates historic anti-fascist actors in Europe. Both sides did engage in violence Saturday. For nearly an hour, fights broke out among a crowd of hundreds of people who gathered in the streets before the rally was even set to start. Both sides. Was Trump wrong? Was Trump wrong? He wasn't wrong for what he said. Both sides are to blame. Both sides are responsible. If you're fighting, you are responsible. And all kinds of races. No. So why is it a race thing? Why are we putting ourselves in there like all of a sudden this is about the black people?
Because that's how the media lifts it up.
Exactly. And who gets
The media is controlled by the government. Or just, well, they're just
state run.
Yeah.
State run. Why are we putting ourselves in there? You know that. Look. I'm darker than Brandon. But if you cut both of us, we bleed the same blood. I'm not bleeding purple and she's not bleeding orange. It doesn't work that way. As a matter of fact, it could be so that she has the same blood type as me. So, what's the deal? Both sides did engage in the violence. Antifa members were among those protesting the white nationalists, along with Black Lives Matter protesters, clergy members, and others. Who are clergy members? Or pastors. Either way. Church folk. Wow. Antifa members were among those protesting against the white nationalists, along with the Black Lives Matter protesters, clergy members, and others. It just seems like all of a sudden, all these groups are just there for a purpose. But they are. But why? Why are all these government-funded groups? Now I'm gonna say, I said it. These government-funded groups, why are they out there?
Because they all play for the same team.
They all play for the same team. In a combative news conference, because, hold on, there's got to be a reset. America will go through a reset. Folks, people, listen to this. This is all for one cause. Things will change for the act of morality. Just watch. In a combative news conference at Trump Tower, the president acknowledged that there were some very bad people among those who gathered to protest Saturday. But he added, you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And that's not wrong. He was right. There were people on both sides who, yes, I'm a white nationalist, but I'm not trying to fight nobody. I'm not, I'm just here for just to support the protest or just to support the war, right? Then he come there that day to start trouble, and you have people on the other side who came there the same way, who was like, you know what? I'm against this. I'm gonna stand here in validity with those who are against it. I didn't come here to fight. So you have people who are good on both ends. A group identified as anti-fascists demonstrated in Portland, Oregon in June, many wearing masks and black clothing during a larger rally with other counter-protesters that was organized by a pro-Trump conservative group. Police used flashbang grenades and pepper spray to disperse the anti-fascist crowd. They said the protesters hurled bricks and other objects at officers. So, if you really want to really think about what's going on, both of the groups, whether it's anti-fascist groups or the white nationalist groups, they both are similar to each other. There was no difference in who's out there on the streets. And I really don't care what people tell me. It doesn't matter. Stop trying to look for, you know, the betterment of I. Here's the thing. In about 4 weeks from today, 4 weeks from today, this will be a distant memory. And you go back to living your lives until the next thing happened, and all of a sudden, it's back to the race stuff, race talk, race war on Facebook. It dies down. You go back to living those lives of, you know, all your picture taking and everything you put on Facebook, right? Everything you put on Facebook. And then all of a sudden, it comes back up again. 10 weeks from now, something else happens. And all of a sudden, it comes back. Race war. Everybody's against the black people. I hope that you guys see that this thing is deeper than what meets the eye. This thing is not, stop looking at the surface. Let's get down, drill down, go down deep to find out what's really going on. Does that look like to you, like was only black people? Right. You have your white nationalists over on one side, you have your anti-fascists on the other side. If the law were not binding, why should anyone fear to transgress? Property would no longer be safe. Men would obtain their neighbors' possessions by violence. The strongest would become richest. Life itself would not be respected. The marriage vow would no longer stand as a sacred bulwark to protect the family. He who had power would, if he desired, take his neighbor's wife by violence. The fifth commandment will be set aside with the fourth, because you know they don't care about the fourth commandment. So the fifth commandment, children obey your parents in the law, in the Lord, would have no power itself, right? Children would not shrink from taking the life of their parents. How many of y'all would take the life of your parents? No, it's happening, but not in the way. Look at it. It's happening, but how many people do not respect God's Sabbath?
Many, but
most. Oh no, we know that. We know that. Second Timothy chapter 3 tell us that. Disobedient to parents, right there. But I'm talking about take the fourth commandment and see that many, the more the population of the earth break the fourth commandment. Imagine if they broke the fifth. Imagine if the same number of people who break the fourth commandment broke the fifth. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Or honor your mother and your father. Huh? No. I'm saying if that was the case, all children, 90% of kids will be killing their parents right now. And that's not happening. That is not happening. That's what she's saying. She's saying the fifth commandment would be set aside with the fourth. Because the fourth commandment has already been set aside. Nobody cares about that. So the fifth commandment had been where the fourth is right now. Trust me, this world be in chaos. Kids walking around just killing their parents. No regard. None whatsoever. Children would not shrink from taking the life of their parents, if by so doing they could obtain the desire of their corrupt hearts. You ain't gonna do that, man? Boom. Take the money and go. Right. It's mine now. You see, if that was the case, if we didn't have no law abiding to abide by, if God did not place his law, this would be the problem. The civilized world would become a horde of robbers and assassins, and peace, rest, and happiness would be banished from the earth. Those who teach the people to lightly regard the commandments of God sow disobedience to reap disobedience. Let the restraint imposed by the divine law be wholly cast aside. Human laws will soon be disregarded. Obviously, that's the case right here. My man was going hard on the pepper spray with the pink glasses on. Because God forbid dishonest practices, coveting, lying. Did I say that right, Renee? Is she still on? Lying and defrauding.
You said it right.
Huh?
You said it right.
Thank you. Men are ready to trample upon his statutes as a hindrance to their worldly prosperity. But the results of banishing these precepts would be such as they do not anticipate. They don't even know what's coming around the corner. Look, guys, this is just the beginning of signs. We haven't seen anything yet. It's going to get worse. Are we ready? Are we ready? Because all they did was literally bring out the guys. When they're ready to deem a martial law, it's coming.
They did.
Oh yeah, they did. A state of emergency. That's why those guys came out. No, that's a state trooper. National Guard's not even yet. State police. Not even yet. They are amped up just like the National Guard. So imagine now,
That was the National Guard.
that's the state police.
I mean, the state trooper.
Yes.
With the
Yes, sir.
dang.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's your state police. Bruh. Bruh. There was another one. I didn't want to put his picture on because he was on his scope. They had a close-up on him on his scope. So basically, as I told you, if and when they are ready to pass martial law, all they got to do is play the chip on the black man's shoulder. That's it. Play the chip on the black man's shoulder, because we got a chip. As soon as you turn my chip on, I'm off to the races. I'm fighting everybody. Courts of justice are corrupt. Rulers are actuated by the desire for gain and love of sensual pleasure. Intemperance has beclouded the faculties of men, so that Satan has almost complete control of them. Jurists are perverted, bribed, and deluded. Man, we ain't gonna have it ain't gonna be good for us. This is what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Drunkenness, revelry, passion, envy, dishonesty of every sort are represented among those who administer the laws. Ooh, these are our congressmen. And who signs it off? Our executive branch, huh? Mr. President. You know what the Bible says in Isaiah 46? Justice standeth afar off, for the truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. It's bomb. So, remember what you just saw with the state trooper? That's your police force. Virginia State Police, VSP. You think they were not ready, bro? You think they weren't ready? Once the governor deemed a martial law, these folks were already out there. Staying in a straight line. That's a combative line. State police. Not even the National Guard is yet. You don't want, if the National Guard comes in, that's military. That's a whole different world. Military do not take command from anybody. They're on a mission. They shoot and they kill. That's their job. These guys are a little bit different. They're there to say, I protect and to serve, to make sure nobody go crazy. We're going to make sure we clear the streets before we have to call the National Guard. Oh, they have to though. What are they dressed in? What are they dressed in? Riot gear. Because they already know they're going to get bricks thrown at them.
Yeah, but they take it out too. You know.
I would too.
And I'm just saying.
You know why? I got a family at home.
Yeah.
I'm a human being. I ain't trying to get hurt by you and you and you and you. No, you just going, there's hostility. And guess what you have in your hand that they may not have? Or you don't know that they don't have in their hand. Because all those guys out there have guns on them. So that's the reason why you have those guys in their tank, and the guys who are snipers on roofs, and the guy in his scope, because everybody has a weapon on them. So name some of our rights that are being chiseled away due to these events. And can anybody name some of our rights that are being chiseled away? Rights of assembly. That's the fundamental beliefs of the church.
No. That's the law. That's 27 law.
The amendments.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's everything that.
I said name some of them. Freedom of speech. You said what?
I said right to
assembly. Right to assembly. What else?
About the media.
Media. Freedom of press. What's the next one? Boom. Freedom of speech. Right to peaceable assembly. Freedom of the press. Freedom of religion. All those are your major ones. Those are your major ones. Those are our rights are being chiseled away due to these events. You know what they said in the news today? They said freedom of speech now is going to be eradicated very slowly, but very quickly at the same time. Your freedom to assembly, your right to assembly, that too will have to have police force, and the state is now getting involved. The state is getting involved with our freedoms to assembly, our freedoms to speech, our right. The press, look at the press is getting hit. They shut down. You know what the press cannot do? No one can really write a good story anymore. Why? Because now we have to get to that. We'll take that story and find out who else wrote that story to make sure that other story or that same story is validated by another story and another. So it's just getting worse. As a matter of fact, if anybody who is really like an investigative division of church and state, that's right, Mark. If anybody is truly an investigative journalist, an underground journalist, somebody who's looking for the truth, and they write against what's going on, oh, they shut them down. Shutting them down. If it's not your major media outlets, Fox, CNN, NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, any of those guys who are writing the story, if you are a small inlet type of journalist, you're shut down. Nobody wants to hear you because you know why? You have no validity at all whatsoever. Matter of fact, they're calling you fake news, and then they're going to call you. They're going to have Snoops say, you know what? No, that person is he's not credible. Go to Snoops. Read Snoops. Heck is Snoops. What makes Snoops valid? Really? How am I supposed to know that Snoops is right? Are they just going to tell me what, they're going to tell me what I want to hear and say, you know what? No, guys, that's not really what the story is. Truly, this is what the story is. No. No. It's the same thing that's going to be happening to the Christians. Very well, the Bible-believing Christians who are going to stand up for God's true Sabbath. It's going to be the same exact thing that's going to happen to us very, very soon, if it hasn't been happening already. Through two great errors, the immorality of the soul and Sunday sacredness. Now, before I go there, this is what was happening there at the same time. Twofold. So if all the chaos is happening, what does the chaos bring? Unity and peace. But the devil is so slick in what he's doing, all of this chaos. There is a word that the Skulls and Bones, there's a term the Skulls and Bones use. But the Haggai dialect is one thing, but there's a term that the Skulls and Bones use. Out of chaos, order. Out of chaos, order. When are we going to step back, and really take a good look, change the lens? If you have lens, clean them up. Change your lens so you can see what is really real. Out of chaos comes order. All of this chaos is going to bring some type of order. And what is that order? That Sunday national law, that national Sunday law, that Sunday sacredness is creeping right in. For those of you who are Seventh-day Adventists who are on this, who are watching me right now, you should know about this. Through two great errors, the immorality of the soul and Sunday sacredness, Satan will bring the people under his deceptions. While the former lays the foundation of spiritualism, the latter creates a bond of sympathy with Rome. So, in other words, with all this chaos that's going on, the man of sin in Rome has been pleading with America to change its laws, to take away its freedoms, so that the liberty of conscience could be wiped away. And the church, who in Rome rules over the state, the church will rule over the state in America just the same. That's the reason why the government, Trump, is working very hard to chisel away and make that separation of church and state come back together again. The Protestants of the United States will be foremost in stretching their hands across the gulf to grasp the hands of spiritualism. They will reach over the abyss to clasp the hands with the Roman power. And under the influence of this threefold union, this country will follow the steps of Rome in trampling on the rights of conscience. I hope my friends on Facebook can hear me. And I hope that you are listening. And I hope that what I just said resonates. Watch this. Oh, they give you time now? 4 minutes? Wow. The line of distinction between professed Christians and the ungodly is now hardly distinguishable. Church members love what the world loves, and they are ready to join in with them. That's what's going on Facebook with all my Christian friends who I knew, and I know that they were Christians at one point before. They are ready to join in. Join in the fold. Let's stand up. Fight back. What you fighting back for? Who you fighting? Who you fighting? You know what the Bible says? Ephesians chapter 6. We fight not against flesh or blood, but against principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. Who are you fighting? Satan delights in war. Really? Who are you fighting? Political corruption. This is my conclusion because Facebook is about to cut me off for the second time. Political corruption is destroying love of justice and regard for truth. And even in free America that we live in right now, free America, rulers and legislators, in order to secure public favor, will yield to the popular demand for a law enforcing Sunday observance. It's coming. With all what's going on, this is to play for it. Your liberty of conscience, the way you think, the right for you to think. I've got 2 minutes, 3 minutes, really to be exact. Your liberty of conscience, your right to think on your own, that will be taken from you. Liberty of conscience, which has cost so great a sacrifice. We fought for that. Not just black people, everybody who protested against Rome fought for liberty of conscience. I can name a few. Calvin, Wesley, Luther, Huss. Many of us, Puritans, Waldensians, I can continue. They fought for freedom of conscience, liberty to think on your own. But once Rome comes into play, once the man of sin that 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 talks about, once he stands up, the liberty of conscience is going to be gone. That will no longer be respected in America. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta go. Facebook gave me a minute to say my last words. I pray that what's going on in Barcelona, what happened in Charlottesville, this ain't it. There's more to come. It's gonna get worse. Get on your knees. Let us pray. Let's ask God to keep us faithful. That's what we need to do. That's what we should be doing. Facebookers, instead of trying to be social justicers, I made that word up. Instead of trying to fight for social justice, fight for your life, that God will preserve it. That's what's important. Save and pray for someone else so their lives can be preserved. That's what's important. I thank you for listening tonight. I thank you for joining. I pray that you can join us next week. I didn't know Facebook put this whole new thing on. I guess it's because of me, because I've been having 3-hour-long live feeds. God bless you. God keep you. And I pray that you'll continue to hold on to God's unchanging hand. Don't let this thing stop you. Please. In Jesus' name. Facebook is over. Facebook? Facebook. I said it on YouTube. Bump Facebook. We're going to pray, guys. But anybody get what's going on, really? Anybody understand what's really happening? With all what's happening, you get what's going on? Do you see the picture, my brother? I'll explain to you in layman's terms. First, I'm going to have these young gentlemen explain to you, because they can explain to you what you know.
Where do you want to start?
Let's pray, guys. As far as goes out, Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, thank you so much for the lovely Sabbath. We thank you so much for your word. We thank you so much for providing us with the Holy Spirit tonight, where we will learn. We gain some wisdom, Jesus. And we're happy for that. Let us remember tonight is the Sabbath. And we have to watch our words, watch what we say. We are very guilty of speaking our own words on the Sabbath. It's good for us to fellowship and to talk. But Lord, we need to be mindful of what we say. So Lord Jesus, we just thank you again, Lord, for what you've done. We thank you for those on Facebook who joined us, and thank you for those on YouTube who joined us. Our Hangouts families, Lord Jesus, we thank you for this. We bless you, we praise you, Lord Jesus. We thank you for all of you, Lord. And we ask that you bring all of us back, all those who are here back home safely. Bring us back again next week, Lord Jesus, for another study, so that your work will continue to go forth in Jesus' name. Amen.